I'm smiling at the usual suspects. Smiling at the usual suspects. So in whatever, let's say 5 years, when we're talking about the success of the Spaniard Show and the success of AM Excellence, I'm going to give strong cred. I'm going to give a strong thanks, a big thanks. And if I miss anyone, I apologize, but these are the names that pop into my head. Dennis Maney is here every day, day in and day out. Sorovic's here a good bit. Justin Greskiewicz, you've been here a good bit. And I want to say this, Justin likes nearly every single post that I put out regarding the podcast. And I'm very aware of that, Justin, so thank you. Larry Moore. Oh, you're in London. Nice. You have a fight coming up. Your fight is back here, though, Justin, right? Larry Moore, Dredd, Sorovic. The people who keep coming back. Ryan, you're here often. Because truly, this is it. It helps me record better episodes knowing that there's a live audience. But the truth of the matter is 5 of you are signed on right now. So it doesn't matter. 1 is enough. Remember in the book, The Good Neighbor, Mr. Rogers is talking to a cowboy TV actor personality, kids actor personality from, I don't know, the 20s, 30s, 40s. And he asked the guy, how do you connect with an audience that's not really there? And the guy said, you just pretend you're talking to one little buckaroo. So Dennis, you're my buckaroo. Dennis, you're my buckaroo, buddy. Very cool, Justin. And Justin, I want to say this too. Your podcast is, if not over 1,000 downloads, just about 1,000 downloads. And I got to be honest, I don't have too many that get up to over 1,000 downloads. So that's pretty cool. Pritch is another one. So that's very good, Justin. And I appreciate you sharing it because people are taking an interest in it. Here's something special. Here's a wacky fact. One Eric Pritch, Coach Pritchard, is he's the OG. Pritch is the OG because he was part of AMX Tended way back, and I'm close with them. I'm close. I'm friends with every one of them, except that I talk to Pritch. Pritch shows up here every day. I hope the other guys are listening every day via the podcast, but Pritch is he's the OG when it comes to the live streams and AMXT. So thank you, Pritch. Brandon, welcome, my friend. I just did some DDPY. Nice little about 55-minute sesh. It's pretty good. Again, it's like one of those workouts that when you're doing it, you're like, oh, this is hard, it's burning so bad. And then you're done, you're like, did I even work out? I should go work out. I'm very excited. So we're reading Mr. Rogers, spend another couple weeks on this book, and then probably have another book, the Unplugged, probably spend a week or so on that book. And then Dredd has been shooting me little excited text messages about boys in the boat. I think he said it was the most powerful line he's ever read. Dredd, did you say something like that? It's pretty cool. All right, so we're going to get to AMX. Let's rock and roll. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Dennis and Dave, if you sign on, my brother's running a 50K this weekend. Yeah, 50K. All right, 1, 2, 3. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the Spaniard Show. This is the Spaniard. This is AM Excellence 599, reading The Good Neighbor, the life and work of Fred Rogers. A quick reminder, I was walking down, I just got back from the gym, I grabbed my computer, my notebook, I ran downstairs to, boom, hit play, and I looked and I saw Where the Red Fern Grows. On my table, a quick reminder, AMX Kids comes out every Tuesday at 4 p.m. AMX Kids is essentially AMX except with kids books. So ideally, I'm making it for your kids. I'm making it for the youngsters who need a positive message or a pat on the back or a word of encouragement. But I'm not going to lie. Reading Where the Red Fern Grows is getting me all giddy and excited and making me remember when I was a boy. And it's so stinking fun. So don't just skip over that AMX Kids. I think you grown-ups will enjoy it just as much as the kids do. So let's hop back into the book, The Good Neighbor, The Life and Work of Fred Rogers. I want to come out and say this is one of the most valuable books that I've ever read. Period. Now, there is some recency involved in there. There is some, I'm thinking of this book as I'm reading it, but there is so much that I could talk about. The thing I want to dive into first is the importance of family and surroundings. The importance of family and surroundings. So if you're not fortunate enough that you have a supportive family, if you look in the circles, right, the concentric circles, if you look out now, you can find an environment. I did a workshop at Penn State Harrisburg yesterday, and I gave the same analogy. I said, okay, if you don't have a supportive family, look in this room. There are people here who want to help you. There are people here who don't want to hurt you. There are people here who want to see you do good. So whether you have a family or whether you have a, quote, family in quotation marks, you can find a supportive environment. In the book, Mr. Rogers says this: nothing can replace the influence of unconditional love in the life of a child. Children love to belong. They long to belong. Okay, so nothing can replace the influence of unconditional love in the life of a child. Children love to belong, and they long to belong. This got me thinking about the book that I read, How Adam Smith Can Change Your Life. Remember when I read that a long time ago? A Scottish philosopher, economist, wrote The Wealth of Nations. In that book, Adam Smith, and it plays along these lines. He says that we have two human needs. One of those needs is to be loved, such as Mr. Rogers is saying, but also the second one is to be lovely. Right? To be loved by others, but also to be lovely. So to be loved for the right reasons. You remember how, I don't know if you remember when I dove into that, but the idea of having character in your heart and in your soul, believing that, no, I'm lovely. A lot of the times, a lot of limitations that we set are self-imposed. Why do we do it? I don't know. I don't know. Mr. Rogers' moms, listen to this. Mr. Rogers' moms, quote, absolute devotion, quote, extraordinary generosity, absolute devotion and extraordinary generosity were crucial to his, quote, developing character and resilience to overcome an introverted, sometimes sickly and sheltered childhood. So here's the deal. Mr. Rogers, on one hand, was born with a silver spoon. He came from wealth. He came from a very supportive family. But at the same time, he dealt with a lot of adversity. He dealt with bullying. They called him Fat Freddy. He was not welcomed. He was wealthy, and he was very aware of the fact that I'm wealthy and the people, other people in this community, other kids in this community are not wealthy. But he did have that loving, supportive environment. And his mom's extraordinary generosity and absolute devotion were crucial to him developing character and resilience. Look at those two things. Absolute devotion, extraordinary generosity. I can tell you 1,000,000%, this book is already making me a better father. Absolute devotion and extraordinary generosity. How much do they cost? How much does absolute devotion cost? How much does extraordinary generosity cost? Can you not afford them? No, you can't afford them. I can't afford them. You just got to make a decision to give those things. Absolute devotion, extraordinary generosity. So how are we measuring up? Ask yourself, look yourself in the mirror, have an honest conversation. How are we? How are you? How am I measuring up in our parenting and mentoring? Absolute devotion, extraordinary generosity. Take those two phrases with you. Moving on in the book, quote, the Rogers family philanthropy and the religious basis for it became two of the most important strands in young Fred Rogers' life. So his parents, their philanthropy and the religious basis for their philanthropy. His father owned businesses. And listen to this. It's the simple things. In the book, it goes in detail about how his dad used to go through the factories and talk to the employees, know them by name, know their story. It was authentic. Authentic. There's that word again. Being true to your spirit. Authentic. Being real. Not being the big fancy boss who speaks fancily and doesn't know anyone's names. He would go through and he would talk to the employees. He would know their stories, their names, their family members' names, etc. His mom was big on community service and helping those in need. This became the basis. They didn't sit on their duffs and say, Fred, you should do this. Fred, you should do that. Fred, you should do the other thing. They actually went through with it. They actually did those things. And for the first time, my daughter Gracie walked down the steps and she's sitting over there, hey, baby. Moving on to the next point. You can come over here, hon. Mr. Rogers, quote, carried a constant awareness of how special his family was. He embraced simplicity. So even though he had all of these things going for him, he embraced simplicity. So let's again ask ourselves, where do we stand up? Where do we stand up in our philanthropy? Where do we stand up in modeling those things that we want in our children? Where are we on that spectrum? But also, speaking of dichotomies, you remember I just read the book, The Dichotomy of Leadership by Leif, Babin, and Jocko, Willinck? Let's speak a little bit more about dichotomies. So over time, their protectiveness, so the protectiveness that missed it, this is a special moment. My daughter's sitting on my lap right now, and this is the first time ever. Speaking of dichotomies, you remember the
Whenever I was 4.
Whenever she was 4. Whenever she was 4, she did it once. Hold on, baby. So over time, this is the dichotomies. Dichotomy of leadership, the dichotomies of life. Over time, I'm speaking of the positive, the extraordinary devotion and extraordinary generosity of his parents. But over time, their protectiveness of Fred seemed to have contributed to an insecurity and insularity that made his earliest years painful. So this maybe overprotection of his parents had a negative side effect. It sheltered him. It gave him a level of insecurity and insularity. But here's the thing. You know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It doesn't just all work out perfectly. Here's the thing. He had these excellent, great parents with extreme devotion. Great. That had a negative consequence that made him stick out a little bit more, a level of insecurity and insularity. But then look, from there, that drove him to evolve his creativity in puppetry and music. So he had this greatness coming from his parents. That had a negative side effect in his insecurity and this feeling of sticking out, made his early years painful. But that drove him to develop his creativity. So it was like a positive to a negative to a positive, which really drives home this E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. So I'd say, in the end, it worked out for Mr. Roger. This has been AMX on 599, The Good Neighbor 3. I hope you come back tomorrow for AMX. Tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow's AMX 600. This is kind of a big day, but I feel like I said that with 500. Whatever. So come back, interact on social media at Charlie Spaniard. Get your books at charliespaniard.com/reading list. And hey, maybe even leave a review on iTunes. Read a book, folks. Hey, baby girl, come say hi to Aunt Ninny. You can't see her, but she can see you. Gracie, she went and got her chair. Come here. Well, I don't know if they're going to be able to see you. Here, take a seat. Oh, can you, here. We'll do this. That's Aunt Ninny right there. Say hi, Aunt Ninny.
Hi, Aunt Ninny.
Hi, Aunt Ninny. Hey, everybody. Anything you want to say to my friends? No? Did you enjoy today's lesson? All right, folks. I got to get going. See you tomorrow.
No, yes.
No, yes? What do you want to tell them? Say, abri-da. I don't know why she's up right now. She shouldn't be up right now. See you tomorrow.